Hey guys, how's it going? My name's Xbox Nut, and this is going to be the first episode in my new tutorial on how to make an ALU. I will mainly be going over the logic in making ALUs rather than the actual building itself, because people like to make their own designs and their own functions and things like that. So I'm not going to be enforcing my ideas onto you. I'm just going to be telling you how you can do your own. So made a list over here. Let's get started already. List of what you need for an ALU. Inputs, output, in brackets S, that's for like I always choose a binary output, but you might want a 7-segment display or both, which I'm thinking about doing, or like piston outputs or something like that. So that's why that's a bracket with an S. Opcodes, which I have here, not actually hooked up to anything at the moment. Functions, obviously. Buses, time, effort, and a brain. So they're the things you need for an ALU. That's all you need. ALUs, in my opinion, are actually quite simple compared to other things, because they're not really that difficult once you grasp the concept. So you've got your top 3 things here: inputs, outputs, and opcodes in one room. I call this the control room, as I always do. I like to have these rooms because it keeps things simple and you can see everything at once. You've got your inputs here: input A on the top, input B on the bottom, or vice versa, whichever really floats your boat. I don't really care. And over here are my buses and my first function, which I've started to do, and this will be the bus to the output screen. As you'll obviously tell, it's not going to be the most compact ALU. I'm not really bothered about size at the moment. It's more about functionality. Once you've got a working ALU, you can compact it and things like that afterwards. You don't really need to worry about compacting things too early, because if you compact it and then find out that you've screwed something up, it's not going to be very easy to undo. Whereas if you just do it all, find out where you can compact it, and then maybe redo it and compact where you can compact, you'll find it a lot easier. So that's the size. I'm anticipating it to go quite far down, actually. I'm going to have maybe 10 or 11 functions. Not really sure at the moment, but you know, that's looking forward to the future. So this is how it all works. You have your inputs here and your inputs here, sorry, one above the other. I tend to choose. I don't really like side to side. That kind of confuses me. This might look a bit odd, but it's literally just transferring the power from that switch into the inverters on the back, because what I do, I have down is on and up is off, whereas if you put the torch like that, down would be off and up would be on. So down is on, up is off, if you understood that. So all it does is invert the power, because down is on. Right, say that one more time. For down to be on when you're looking at it, it's got to be off outside, because the power goes into the torch here, turning it off, leaving the torch above on. If it was up, this torch would be on, but the torch that you see at the back would be off. So this is inverted. Then it goes into a row of inverters. I'll tell you why this one's a bit further on in a second. And the inverters, all they do, they power the entire bus with redstone all the way down to the end of your functions. This is my design of ALU, and I think it's easy to use because it's simple and it's easy to understand. The fact that you have your functions in line with each other. There'll be a function. There's a function here. This is my adder, which is actually a Grisdale's adder. I think it's Grisdale's adder on the Minecraft forums, which I downloaded. So you've got your functions in a line like this going along, and the inputs branch off side by side, one by one, into the ALU, into the function, sorry. And then the function generates the output. It goes through an enabler, only one of which is enabled, so only one function output actually goes out, and the output goes towards the output screen. So one more time, inputs go onto the bus, they go onto every function. Every function is generating the output, but only one of them gets the output, which is what's enabled, i.e. this is an enabler here. This adding is enabled at the moment, so the outputs here are on, but if I were to enable or disable the outputs, then they would be off because the power is not being sent through, which prevents more than one function being activated at once, screwing up the output. So logic behind the ALU, as I've said, lines come out, they branch off into their designated functions. At the moment I've only got one, and the function generates the output and the output goes out the back. All you need to do for this is to have a long line of redstone coming out of your input lines and some clever way of branching them into the outputs, into the functions. So as you can see here, the adder, this is the adder, it goes, that's the 8th bit, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and since I don't like things being backwards, you have the 8th bit here, because if you can imagine it, the 8th one here, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 8-bit branches off to the left with a redstone line going on, goes into its designated adding spot along with the one on top, which goes into the left here, and then it carries on, and this continues along the entire input codes. So the 1 bit over here, which again is pushed forward like this one above it, goes all the way down because it's the last in the row, goes down. The glass doesn't actually separate it, it just means that you don't have to fall into the holes. There's glass. That was stupid. Yeah. So it goes down there, under all of these lines, into its slots. The reason the first bit is pushed forward is because, as you can see here, I'm not actually using this to its full potential because the input is being inverted straight away rather than letting it go its 15 blocks and then being inverted. But it has to be over here because there aren't enough space, there aren't 15 blocks instead of in front of it. So to get the inputs all in a line like this, you have to compromise some efficiency to make them all even, and so they're all actually being limited by the first bit because it has to be inverted there, whereas this one, for example, could be inverted here, this one could be inverted here, and it would go further and further and further, and the first bit could in fact be inverted around here, like, you know, it gets inverted first, sorry, around here, and then gets another one around there to there, rather than one in the middle and one on the top for this. Basically, the reason it's put forward is because, I'll show you, if it was here, you'd need you would need an extra, what are they called, repeaters, right here, which is really inefficient, I think, because there's two right next to each other, even though you've got a nice long bit of space to put the inverter anyway. So I moved it along, and as I've said, the reason I haven't done this for all of them is because they're being limited by that. This actually doesn't go full 15 blocks before it hits the first enabler. It goes about 13 blocks, because as you can see, it actually reaches about there. But to compromise, you sacrifice a bit of the power line. So that's basically the basic functionality of an ALU and the logic behind it. Inputs go into a bus. You can do your own designs for these. Some people like the functions going lengthways rather than facing off to the left. For example, like you'd have an adder here, here. But I like branching off to the left. I think it's cooler and easier to see. Next time you see a video, I'll have another function. I plan to have adding, subtracting, knotting, ORing, ANDing, XORing, bit shift right, bit shift left, and maybe rotation and XORing, depending on how much effort I want to put into this. But that's the basics of an ALU. Stay tuned for more parts, and at the end we'll see a final product of an ALU. 8-bit. Yeah, this is an 8-bit ALU. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.